everybody, and welcome to another episode of Positivity. We're delighted to be joined by Beverley, Sunderland today. Hello, how are you?
Hello, Alex. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. And I think you might be our first guest that is outside the UK shores. So whereabouts are you?
Yes, I am across in France. So we are in Normandy. Near, I suppose the nearest town is a place called Flers, which somewhat bizarrely actually is twinned with my school, my home, the town that I went to school with. So it wasn't until we actually bought the house that I realised that I have spent many happy, sort of childhood weeks on exchange visits in Flers, just down the road. So, I mean, how weird was that?
Wow.
I had no idea. Yeah.
That's incredible. How long until you found that out? Was it when you made your first visit over?
Literally, we were driving to the next town, and the sign said Flers, twinned with Warminster, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's why it feels so familiar. And it was a good few years ago now, but I remember. Yeah,
meant to be then. It was definitely meant to
definitely meant to be.
Yes. Yeah. So we are on Positivity, and our criteria is that everybody brings along a cuppa. Have you got one to hand?
I certainly have. Yeah.
That's great. What's your tea of choice today?
PG tips. I'm afraid I am a straightforward sort of, good old fashioned builder's tea kind of girl, nothing too fancy.
Like to hear.
Yeah.
That's what we like.
Yeah.
And do you bring them over from the UK as well?
We do, yeah.
Yes, very British. My parents have done the same as well. They've gone on holiday and they packed the tea bags. That was the best thing.
It's the main thing that we get asked to bring out for people who are living out here permanently is tea bags, and strange things like mint sauce, and cooking apples, because the French don't generally have cooking apples. They've only got eating apples. So
every time you go back, your list gets longer with the most bizarre requests.
It does a bit. Yeah. It's fine.
Oh, that's great. So it'd be great if you could share a little bit about what you do for work and how the last few months of COVID has impacted that, and so on.
Yes, of course. Well, I'm a solicitor and I specialise in employment law. So I run a firm, and that's all we do is employment law. So we're a team of 5. And it would be fair to say that we have had a pretty roller coaster ride since lockdown started and the whole COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, and I speak as a business owner as well as sort of an employment lawyer, is that, when we first went into lockdown, it was like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Will clients still pay their bills? Will we still have any work to do? Which I can understand that every business was thinking. But then it became clear that actually we were going to be pretty busy. So we've obviously been going through the whole furlough thing, trying to unravel what it all means, interpreting the government's guidance at sort of 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning, because they always issued it on a Friday night, which was really not very helpful. And then trying to tell all our clients about it in sort of simple language that everybody understood. I'm not suggesting that any of my clients are stupid, by no means, but there's an awful lot of sort of legalese waffle out there, and they just needed to know in sort of basic terms what they could do. So yes, and then unfortunately it's now moving more towards businesses looking and thinking, can we sustain this level of staffing full time? So I'm afraid it's going more into redundancies now. So we have been pretty busy, which I'm obviously very thankful for on a personal level, because I got a great team and they've got mortgages to pay and everything else. But obviously looking at it from a perspective of the economy, it's not good really.
No, and I guess as well, I spoke to Suzanne about it. When it first happened and all these words were flying around, furlough and so on, it was all new to everybody, and everyone was coming to you as an expert for these answers. But I guess a lot of it you haven't had to deal with before, so you were having to learn very quickly in lots of cases as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, who had heard the word furlough before the government, the Chancellor announced it? Small piece of information for the next time that you're in a quiz is that it comes from the Dutch word verlof, which means leave of absence. So there we are.
Brilliant. I'm not doing well on the lockdown quizzes, so maybe that will help me a bit.
But yes, I mean, it is totally new, and because the law wasn't changing per se, you know, there wasn't legislation, what we were having to do is we were having to apply good old-fashioned principles, like taking holiday. Could you be forced to take holiday? How much notice did you have to give? All of those kind of things, and we're having to sort of overlay them over these you know, directives coming out from HMRC, and advise our clients accordingly. So yeah, it's
Yes,
been
yeah.
an
And
interesting few months.
yeah, I can. And you as an individual, you're having to obviously support your clients, but also your employees as well, and
Mm.
they'll be coming to you. So, were you able to take some time for yourself as well during the last few months, and actually take a little bit of rest, or has it just been non-stop?
I had, Alex, I had all these great plans that I was going to, you know, improve my French, that I was going to train our puppy, who is now 10 and a half months, and that, you know, I'd have a lot more time for myself. And it has just been so completely manic. You know, I think my husband and I worked out that the last time that we had had a meal out had been something like the 11th of January in South Africa in the rain, because we flew back from a holiday in South Africa. And so yeah, it has been, so it has, I must say, it has been lovely to come across to France. We came across in the tunnel, and just feel a little bit normal out here, because,
Yes.
you know, okay, I'm working, but it's a different view, and lovely food and wine, and walk somewhere different. So
Yeah, and
yeah.
thank goodness that we're able to do that now, because so many people have adapted, and so many companies, that you can enjoy this. And do you think this is something that you'll take forward beyond the world of COVID? That, you know, the flexible working, and so on.
Yeah, I mean, we have always been pretty geared up to flexible working. A lot of my team, I mean, one of my team has always worked from home, and others have, you know, odd days at home and things like that. So it's something that isn't new to us, but actually we have all realized that we miss each other's company. So 3 of my colleagues are in the office today, just reminding themselves what it looks like. I mean, we're not forcing anybody to go back or anything like that. It's entirely their choice. They want to have that social interaction with one another. But I do think that the silver lining out of all of this is that companies now realize that if you're working from home, you're not going to be binge watching sort of, you know, various box sets and things like that, that actually life goes on, work goes on.
Yeah.
People probably work harder when they're working from home. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think I've definitely seen, you know, businesses have seen, this is very generalized, but they've seen that everyone is human. I think even before, I would have been nervous to stay at home because there's an Amazon delivery arriving. But, you know, it's okay to get an Amazon delivery and a washing machine to come in, and, you know, you can
Absolutely.
still work around it. And I hope that, you know, people and businesses take that moving forward, definitely. But like you say, there's still the social interaction, which is so important, and bouncing ideas off each other, that you need that face to face as well. It's a happy dynamic, really.
Yeah. I mean, we have a team call every morning at 11:30. We were doing it every day, but we've now moved it to 3 days a week. And, you know, it's a free for all. Everybody's on there, the lawyers, the admin, the office manager, everybody, and we just have a chat. And that's been good, just to, ironically, I've probably spoken to them all more in the last sort of 4 months than I would do in an average week, probably.
Yeah.
Only because everybody's like head down and just get on with it, you know. But
Yeah.
there's nothing that beats that social interaction and sitting
Yeah.
down with a cup of tea,
Yes,
and,
exactly.
you know, and just having a chat about.
No, that's so true. And so that's obviously your work life, and the social interaction has been very difficult for families and friends.
Mm.
What sort of kept you going on that side, in terms of keeping in touch, keeping positive, just keeping active, whatever it might be? How's that been over the last few months?
Yeah, so well, I mean, one of the benefits of obviously like not commuting to the office and things has been that you get a bit more time. So I've been able to sort of take the 2 dogs out for much longer walks, and obviously get a run. I hasten to add, only once we were allowed to go out more than once a day. So I've really enjoyed having a bit more exercise to keep positive. And then we found ourselves sort of, having Zoom calls with friends across the world and things, and enjoying a glass of wine talking to them, but obviously not with them. And also one of the things we've also found is that it's been great with just bringing the whole. We live in the middle of nowhere, but we live in a lane, and everybody's sort of got together, obviously not physically, but got together in terms of ordering things from the farm shop and getting stuff in and being innovative, and everybody helping one another. And I'm putting in a Waitrose order, does anybody want anything? So there's that has been so nice, really, that to get to know people a lot better.
The people geographically closest to us, this is what I'm finding, they're the ones that we didn't know before, but everyone is coming together, that sense of community that again I hope isn't lost post COVID. And and then just going back to what you said about going out for your run, and you've been doing that more, so have you felt a difference in yourself for doing that, and sort of more relaxed or happier when you go into work, or do you just not like the running side?
No, actually I love running, which is slightly bizarre, because when I was at a force ed school, I was always the person who would deliberately walk round across country simply because I could, unless of course I needed to be somewhere, in which case I would run, and all of a sudden I'd come like third or something and scare the living daylights out of our PE teacher. But I do enjoy it. I find it's a really good way of just de-stressing. I will go out on my own rather than with the dogs, because otherwise it just becomes sort of stop-start as they sort of sniffing things. So I probably do.
More stressful than it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do sort of about 40 minutes on my own, and it just clears the head. So if you can sort of do it, I'm an early bird, not helped by the puppy getting me up at 5:30 every morning, but so I'll do a few hours, then I'll go out for a run, and it just breaks the day up, really.
That's so true, and it's making people, because like you say, we don't have the commute, you've got that time back.
Absolutely. Definitely.
And that time back that we've got, I know you said earlier that people aren't binge watching certain series and so on, but has there been any recommendations that you would have of series or books or podcasts that you've either discovered or rediscovered during this time that you would recommend?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? And this date, sort of ages me, I guess. I'm a huge Archers fan on Radio 4, although I have to say that I have been singularly unimpressed with their efforts in lockdown, with these dreadful monologues. They should have just sort of said, we're not going to do it for the time being, we'll be back in September. But the one thing I did listen to, as I was waiting the other day for the Archers to start before I realized I didn't want to listen to it, is so Victoria Coren Mitchell has been doing a series on Radio 4. I'm not sure if you've heard it, but it's called Women Talking About Cars. And you think, what? But anyway, I caught the tail end, and I was loving it so much that I actually went back and listened to the whole thing. And it was an interview with Floella Benjamin. Now, you're much too young to remember Floella Benjamin when she was on, Play School or whatever it was. But she was talking, I mean, she is now, I forget where she's from. It'll come to me in a minute. But she was talking about her life from coming from Trinidad to the UK with her family. She was talking about going to a particular place to look for a house, and that they were driving up the road in the car, and all of a sudden, like 3 police cars appeared. And the reason that they had appeared was because somebody had rung up and said that there was a family of black people, and that they thought that they were coming to steal the fixtures and fittings. I mean, so at that stage, her mother said, we will be living here. Whatever happens, we're going to buy this house and we're going to live here. And she was talking about how people had put dog mess through the letterbox and things like that. So when she was given the opportunity of, when she was elevated to the House of Lords, as to what she would, she'd be Lady whatever, she chose to take the name of this very place that had been so horrible to her family, almost with a sense of irony, really. And she said how things have moved on, because now everybody says where she lives. Oh, Floella Benjamin lives in the same street as us. That will really increase the property values. She said they weren't looking at it like that in those days when her parents moved into that house. And it's a fascinating interview. I would, recommend it to anybody to listen to. Yeah.
And it's how quickly people turn and their perceptions change. Even I'm really following the Black Lives Matter movement at the moment, but also, we work for my work. I work with athletes that were potentially sort of the naughty kids at school, and then they're going back into their schools to the same teachers and inspiring the children, and the teachers are saying how wonderful they are, and you have these athletes saying, "We weren't saying that when I was," there's all these different examples of it, obviously to very different levels of severity, but how quickly people change their perceptions from what others believe and say to them, really.
Totally. Yes. And so, I would urge anybody to go and to listen to this particular interview. They will understand why she is. I think she's Lady Beckenham. I think I'd have to check that, but she said, her mother sounded a hugely resolute woman. Said, "We will be living here. There is no question of it. I don't care what people are like." It was great. Really good. Yeah.
And again, something like that, I often just read about it, and it's so far removed to what I've experienced. But when you actually hear it firsthand, wow, this has definitely been my best recommendation so far on Positivity. I could talk to you about it all day. Don't tell anyone else.
I promise your secret is safe with me. Yes.
Yeah. And that's on Radio 4.
Yes. So if you put in Floella Benjamin Radio 4, it will come up with a link to it, and it's fantastic. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. That's amazing.
That's all right.
Well, I could listen to all your recommendations, but I appreciate you're a very busy lady and you've got lots to do. And I just want to thank you very much for coming on.
My pleasure.
It's been such a treat to hear from you and your experiences of lockdown life. But my final question, which we ask all our guests, is who would you like to nominate to come on one of the next episodes of Positivity?
Well, I would like to nominate actually another lawyer. Not somebody that I work with, but he's the managing partner of a firm called Gardner Leader, and his name is Derek Rogers. And he has basically had to keep, quite a large group, because it's quite a big firm now, cheerful, happy during lockdown and on side. And you just have to look at some of the things that he posts on LinkedIn and some of the things that he's done and introduced, and having coffee virtually, obviously, with colleagues just to raise money for charity, and just kept everybody cheerful. And so that is my recommendation of the person that you should be talking to next.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. I look forward to meeting him. And to be nominated as the most positive person in your life will be a huge treat for him, I'm sure. So thank you very, very much. And
absolute pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your day with your PG tips in France.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks very much. Bye.